I was aching for it again. So that's like, this movie really just made me like breathless. And it's so deafening. The silence was so deafening for me. So I really love this film. Like, you guys did such an amazing job. And Celine, I know the film is inspired by, and actually takes place of a real life situation that you had with your husband and your childhood love in a bar. So did the film really play out the way that, you know, in the, like your real life as well?
Well, I think that the way I usually would think about it is like, you know, the actors are sort of coming in and, you know, like with Greta and I, we were sort of also discovering Nora together, right? So, but when it comes to like what happened or something like that, I think the most important part of the film is like how it speaks to the sort of authenticity of what it's like to be alive and a person, and you know, so it was so much more about trying to find that than being like it's accurate to life or it is factual to life. It's a little bit more like inspired by that moment. But it really was something that I was finding with you know, Greta with Nora, you know, Theo with Theo, Haesung, things like that. Yeah.
Well, there's something truly beautiful about the silence. Like, the film has a lot of long pauses, moments of tension, you know, that had you aching and longing. You know, and Greta, your performance is absolutely beautiful. Like, I know you came from a comical background, and I was wondering, it's really hard to stay in the silence due to that. I was wondering, how was those moments for you? And what were the conversations for these kinds of scenes?
It was extremely painful. It was brutal. It really was. I mean, I did, yes, I think right before we started shooting this, I was coming off of Russian Doll and the Morning Show, and it was COVID, and so there were a lot of modifications that were going on, and I think I was carrying the script with me, the Past Lives script, while shooting Russian Doll in Budapest, and like reading the script, and you know, and also while doing the morning show, it's just a completely different metronome, right? So I'm coming off of that, and then we get to set to start this, and the pace of it really kind of illuminated to me, I guess, the courage it takes to just exist. And it really, the experience of that, it is something that I'm still processing and trying to figure out, especially coming out of that summer that we had of incredible racial reckoning, everything that we went through, and just taking a moment that was maybe forced upon all of us initially, but just to like reconsider how I could, you know, just approach work differently and think about, okay, in the past, the characters that I played, and I'm so grateful for them, they've all informed the next one, and Nora's no different in a way, but a lot of Nora, it did feel different. This is a very long-winded way to say. It was really different. And those first few moments working on set with Celine, I was so grateful because it was the constant reminder of the silence, the stillness, the things that aren't said. That's life, and it's essential. And sometimes it does take courage to just live in that silence that I wanted to fill with jokes. Unscripted jokes.
I mean, I really want to see the reel if there is one. But Celine, you know, there's so many meaningful moments, you know, and conversations that are really reflective of identity and eras and stages in our lives that, you know, we've all gone through, and really deep conversations, you know, and you know, there's so many themes to the film, whether how we are in our stages in our lives, the people, you know, who come in and out of our lives, you know, and the people of the past, and coming to terms with who we are now. You know, what theme did you want viewers to really take from this emotional journey?
I think the beyond the theme, because I feel like just like life, that all themes are sort of have to be a part of the sort of the material of the movie. So it was really less about the theme of it, and it's a little bit more about how the audience member, they'll walk into the theater, should be the way that they leave. So I think that my dream for it is always that the movie gets under your skin and becomes something that becomes a part of you in some way, and then as a result, I don't expect everybody in the room here to have the same reaction to the film or like same kind of a thing, because I feel like the way you walk into the theater and who you are and what your life experience is and everything like that, my hope for it and my dream of it is that that is also the way that you're going to walk out, you know, after you've seen the movie. So I think it was a little bit more like, I think that's what I hope for the audience more than anything. I think I hope for, I want more than anything for there to be openness to it, or like readiness for it to be something that that they will let these characters into their thoughts about life and love and everything. But I feel like I want like character of Nora to stay with you more than it being a theme. You know?
No, and she stayed there, like, following me around. I'm like, oh, like, she seriously, like, it was in my soul. And, you know, and the part of that was, like, because there's one scene that really stood out, that really was reflective of, I think, what a lot of us go through. You know, and Nora was describing to Arthur how she felt when she was with Haesung. She says, I feel so Korean, but not Korean, also not Korean. And she describes this like what many of us would say, there's Korean American and there's Korean Korean. Like there's always that, like, oh, Korean Korean, Korean American. And you know, and that scene was so relatable. And you know, how was it for you, Greta, like performing this scene?
Well, okay. I feel like, you know, Nora and I are very different. I am Korean American, but I was born here. I was born in Los Angeles. I'm a mother. I have 2 kids. I am not currently embroiled in some sort of like love triangle that I'm aware of, unless it's like involving my kids and maybe like sleep. And I mean, it's a very intense love triangle of sorts. But I think like, it really, the movie gave us a chance to really consider, obviously, this experience of being American, Asian American. It's not a monolith. We all know this. It seems ridiculous to have to say it again and again. And doing the work of Nora and figuring out who she was, and what we wanted her to be, to tell the story we wanted to tell, and not the story we didn't want to tell. I mean, it was a joy. I mean, it really was. And it makes me incredibly optimistic about the future of American film, like what that can mean, right? It can look like this, no big deal. Most of this is in Korean, who cares? It's still an American film, right? And I think what was really artistically freeing about this was not feeling like, okay, in this moment, my Korean American arm is walking here. I don't walk with my arms usually, but it's the in between. And it wasn't for the sake of showing or presenting or indicating anything, because at the end of the day, the movie is just about love. It's just about the like incredibly universal human experience of falling in love. And I think the beauty of the script and Celine's gorgeous words, it clearing aside all of these other things that felt restrictive in trying to explain our experience and like who we are in an impossible way. We're never gonna get there. I felt like it kept us from getting to the other things that are so connective. So I don't know, that's just something that I think we were always talking about while filming those scenes. Yeah.
Well, another thing I really love about the film is that Arthur, played by John Amagero, hauls out the known tropes. You know, that the kind of stories that we've seen, the white man gets in the way of true love, like he said, and you know, and really voices these expectations that the viewers may have. And it's not done in a foreshadowing way. But it felt like it was calling out on these expectations. It was like, oh, it felt like, oh, the film was calling out, like, this is not what you're expecting. And I was wondering, Celine, I would love to know the concept behind this conversation between Nora and Arthur.
Well, I think that the way I think about the characters are at the end of the day, they are full characters and they don't necessarily represent anything, just like how people don't represent things. People are people and they have a complexity and then things that are tough and things that are not. And I think it's like, to me, it was a little bit more like, I know that when Arthur first shows up to the story, because he shows up a little bit later in the story and as sort of like a part of the situation that it is like a Nora and Haesung's, within Nora and Haesung's story, of a fact that becomes part of the reason why the two of them are not together when they finally see each other at the end. So I knew that there was going to be, like at first, it's like you're not expected to like him when you first see him because you're just not sure what you're supposed to feel about him because you're so connected to Haesung and Nora. And I think that the bedroom scene is meant to really reveal the thing of like, no, actually, I think that it is possible to be in a good marriage. I think that it is possible for two characters to care for and love each other in spite of knowing that, and not even in spite of, but almost because of the mystery that they have with each other. I don't think that it is possible to know another person completely. And I think part of not knowing somebody completely is to not only acknowledge that you do not know that person in every way, and then but it's also to process it yourself, and then for it to not prioritize your feelings or prioritize what you need beyond what the person you love needs. So to me, I'm like, that was really more of a scene about that. So I mean, I think the main thing is it's like, and also I needed the marriage to be intelligent. I needed Arthur to be intelligent because Arthur is talking about the trope or whatever, but I think he's also a writer. That's part of the reason why Nora and Arthur are together. So it would be absurd if he was dumb about it, you know? I think he would be very connected to that because he's very connected to his marriage. So to me, I think everything that I was going through, the way that I was thinking about the characters is, at the end of the day, that they're people, right? More than anything. Perfect and imperfect. Yeah.
No, definitely. And, you know, I do definitely want to know what that book is about, what his book, Boner, is about. Definitely that.
We wrote a synopsis. Well, I think it's like, I think that's part of the intelligence. I think that it is like, I believe that, to me, that I bet the book is really great, you know? I just don't know if Nora would stay with him if it was a bad book. I bet it's a great book.
I need A24.
Everybody wrote the synopsis for it. It's really good, you know.
Yeah, please A24, please make a book for this film, for a book.
Option it into a movie. It's already a movie.
No, you know, and Greta, you stated in the past that this film feels culturally and emotionally X-rated for you. Can you elaborate on that feeling?
Yeah, it's a weird thing when you get repeated back to you something that you said. Do I still believe? Yes, I do believe that. I think it was what I was talking about before. I mean, it did feel very challenging in a new way. I think like when I was young and when I first started out, I had this dream of being in a movie like this. But I think part of my fantasy of what it would be like, I had it in my head, this vision of myself that would be reinvented, like this like better version of myself that was in service of some imaginary something else. And then the reality of what was needed for this, and Nora being who she is, it was so completely different. I had to show up as myself, and that was alarming initially because it went so counter to different things that I experienced growing up, perhaps. And it was unlearning those things it just was an uncomfortable and painful process. And I'm so grateful for it. But I think the fact that at the center of this movie, and what I loved about it from the jump was the way that it subverts this idea of the conventions of a love story, or a romantic drama, or even a love triangle. And you have this woman who is so steady in what she wants, Like, she's not looking to a man to carve out her identity or figure out what she wants out of her life. She knows. And it's from that place she's confronted with these ideas that expand so much bigger than just like, you know, the guy. And I think that was always what was so exciting from the beginning. Talking to Celine, your vision of how do we, I mean, we would joke like, it's a love story, but what if it was like kind of sci-fi? Like, how do we take these, sometimes like, you know, mundane moments and make them feel cosmic and make them feel larger than life? And we talk about things like portals and jumping through time and space within just a scene of two people talking. Yeah, I was happy that we could incorporate all of that into this.
No, definitely, because like you said, like you felt like another universe, and watching it, it felt like what if I chose this path? What if I didn't leave? And watching the film, I ached because I was watching like her walk away, and it's like, what if this was different? What if this happened?
I think the thing is though, I think it's certainly, I think the what ifs are there, and I think that those ways that time and space sort of collapse is a big part of the, especially in the bar and with the three of them and everything. I do think that at the end when she's walking away, the thing that she is grieving as well is the little girl that she left behind, and that and part of what the amazing gift that Haesung gives her, and he gives her himself, is flying 14 hours to be here to, I sometimes talk about it as a confirmation of death movie, where it is Haesung flew 14 hours to be here to sort of like do that CSI thing where you like lift a sheet and then you confirm that the person is who you think it is, and then you confirm together that it's death officially. And to me, it's like that's really what Haesung came here to do with her. Of course, I think there are opportunities before where something could have happened, but for other reasons, because they're young. And I think, you know, the other way I talk about it is it's a movie with 3 goodbyes, and it's 2 bad goodbyes and 1 good one. And then the first 2 goodbyes one is as a kid, and they're too young, so they don't do a great job of saying goodbye to each other. And then the second one, they're still too young, so they also hurt each other as they say goodbye. And then the final goodbye is when the movie can end, right? And that's why when we're flashing back to the childhood, in the final walk home, the kids are in the dark because they're going to say the goodbye that they were owed as children. You know, and they were waiting in that corner in Korea, waiting for this goodbye to happen for 24 years. So to me, once that goodbye has finally happened, I think that Nora is finally able to, I didn't think that Nora necessarily knew that that little girl needed to be grieved until Haesung flew all the way over here, right, to let her know. Because for him, the little girl's still alive. And part of the conversation they're having in the bar is to talk about how that little girl's gone. In some way she's still here, but she's gone as well, which I think is the contradiction. And then I think that when she's walking home, she's grieving that little girl, really. But of course, it is about the doors, and it's about other lifetimes and later lifetimes and past life and everything. But I think at the heart of it is that she just gets a chance to say goodbye to the little girl as well, too. You know.
Sorry, I got emotional again when you're describing it. I was like, oh my god, it's so good. And you know, there's moments like where I had tears of what Haesung, like this, and Nora represented to each other. The emotions they felt for each other, clinging on to these memories, but they're not the same people, like you said, like in grieving that. It's the memory that lingers, but there's something that that like stood out to me. Haesung says something to Nora. Nora's the one who leaves, and it really hit my gut, and I'm getting emotional remembering it. And I was wondering if you could elaborate the meaning of that.
To me, I think that to some of us, I think for depending on who you are, to who the person that you're talking to is, you are somebody who leaves. But then you're also somebody who stays for some other people too. So I think that it is a little bit more about like Haesung sort of acknowledging that for him, when she left him as a kid, that really was that was it. That really was a goodbye. And to me, it's like it is really about exactly the words. I mean, I feel like I rarely. I think Greta can testify to this. I feel like usually characters mean what they say, So I think that's what he means when he says there's no real hidden meaning. He's really saying like you really are the one that leaves for me, but I can see that you're the one who stays for Arthur. So and he's really acknowledging that in spite of everything,
Yeah. Well, this one's a little bit a fun question for you guys, for both of you. Like in the film, 12-year-old Nora wanted a Nobel Peace Prize. 24-year-old Nora wanted a Pulitzer. 36-year-old Nora wants a Tony. What does Celine or Greta of now and back then
Is
want?
this just a way to try to get us to say our age?
No, of now. Of now.
What I would like to say to that is that like I think that what is so what matters so much about that thing, that refrain coming back and over again, is that Haesung remembers that little girl who is so clueless, and she's like, I'm gonna win and I think Haesung is the one for whom it's like, to me, it's a joke that endures through 24 years, because it's about Haesung who is like, you were that girl, I remember that girl. And once when they're younger, Nora indulges it with joy, and then when they're really grown up, I think that Nora is at first like, I don't think like that anymore. I'm not a 12-year-old kid anymore, right? But then she of course kindly indulges him as well. So to me, I mean, it's so much more about the way that ambition is sort of like how Haesung sees her ambition, and how that child state of that ambition, how that endures for Haesung. Like that's one of the few jokes that he can really make with her.
I'm just laughing so hard because remembering this conversation and the amount of time we were talking about how long she would chew on the bagel while she was thinking about how to respond to him asking her that. Was all of this. Chew, 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 keep chewing.
Do I answer this question or
Yeah,
not?
how do I not answer? Right, yeah. Kind of like how we're trying not to answer the question.
Just say that.
Wait, so how many chews were there for you? That's okay. Well, we'll skip that one. But more mystery for when the movie comes out too. But I wanted to ask you, because the theme for this year of the festival is renewal, celebrating wellness and joy. And despite the tears in the final scene that Nora has of grieving, I felt a little at peace, with myself and like just watching it for her. And we often look for the deep significance of films, like I did, like looking for the symbolism behind everything, that we forget the joyful moments and the mental health and the mental state like of the characters. Celine, was this something you thought about for Nora as she goes through this journey of self-discovery? And Greta, how does it feel really portraying that throughout throughout her life?
I think to me the movie is not I think that you can take it how you want, honestly. Like I was saying, I really do mean it when I think it's like how you walk into the theater should be how you leave. But I do think that like there is such hope and acceptance, and like there's something I would always say to Greta that it's a happy ending, So to me, I think a part of it is like, and also like when Haesung is driving away in the car. I mean, so the thing is like the walk home. My DP Xavier, he asked me which direction that Nora should walk Haesung to that spot where the Uber is at the final walk home, and I was like, of course, from fucking right to left, because if it's a timeline, it's a walk to the past, right? So they walk to the past. At the end, they stand there and then they wait, and they have a moment together, and of course the miraculous wind. Which we didn't have a wind machine, but the wind sort of amazingly blows Nora's skirt towards the past like that. And then the car comes, and then the car picks up Haesung, and the car drives into the past, right, if it was a timeline. And then Nora starts to, it takes a moment, and then she starts walking against the wind towards the present and the future, right? So that's sort of, I always knew that that's how it had to happen. And of course, she comes home and she's there with her husband, and then she gets to go home in the present. So that's what that walk to me is. So it is about walking Haesung home there, right? So walking Haesung to a spot in the past together, and they get to be there together. So, and then of course after that, we cut to Haesung, which is the final scene of the film, and Haesung is of course driving from left to right. So to me, the thing is, Haesung is, I remember Teo who plays Haesung, he asked me, what is his facial expression, or what's the thing that you, what's the feeling of this drive home? And I was like, well, first of all, exhausted, and of course it's been a long night, but it's also peace, and like you should look in peace, and like you're good, like you got what you want, what you came here to do. So to me, I'm like, I think that it's up to really anyone, that's like how you want to interpret it. You know, I've heard every version of it. You know, I've heard people who told me that after seeing the movie, they were like, this really makes me want to call my partner right away and tell them I love them, and they're perfect. Thank you so much for being there and everything. And I also heard where they were like, well, you know, I think I have to break up with my. I really heard both. And of course, when it comes to single people, like I've heard people say like, oh my God, like I realized that I should actually move to this other city to be with this person. And of course, I also heard the version where they said, well, this really allowed me to get over my ex, right? So I think it can be sort of any version of that. So I think it can be a happy or sad or both, depending on who you are and where you are in your moment when you walk in. But I think that you, at least I know the one thing that is true, which is that we just get to watch Nora move forward and like walk forward, and we also get to watch Haesung do that too.
Okay. Yeah, and it makes for a very interesting reception after a movie like this. You can imagine people telling you, you know, option A, B, or C. Should I call him, or you know, what should I do? Yeah, I mean, this idea of renewal. I mean, I think that ultimately we were just talking about this idea of like, things like this is like the confirmation of death, cosmic jokes, and these larger ideas. But I guess just like connecting it to renewal, I think we were just hoping to figure out a way to show on some level just the fact that our life is so short, and how do we reconcile that? And the choices that we make that carve out our lives. And that's something, no matter who you are and no matter where you're from, that is something that I think we can all share. So renewal. There you go.
No, I'm so glad to hear your take on it, because I've been dying inside waiting for it to talk to you. So I'm just like, oh, I'm so happy that, you know, we got to share it with everyone here. And I can't wait. And please bring all your friends to watch it, and the ones, yeah, please, when it comes out. But yeah, thank you so much.
It's coming out June 2nd.
Yeah.
June 2nd.
Thank you guys so much for coming.
If you're questioning calling your ex, watch the film. But yes, but thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you all for being here. Thank you.